What's up, yo? Welcome to the Young Legends podcast where we teach you the cheat codes of the game of life. I'm your host, Caption, aka Caption Red. I hope you're well wherever you are. And I'm super excited about the topic I'm covering today, which is something we all need a little more of in our lives, which is gratitude. Now I'm going to start with a quote that I really like that goes, "It's not happy people who are grateful. It's grateful people who are happy." And that's nothing but the truth. In order to be happy, you have to be grateful. And there are some people out there that have everything and they're still not grateful, which I don't understand. But that's what you need in your life. If you have gratitude, you can have happiness. Now, here's the problem I have with having a holiday for giving thanks. Because Thanksgiving's coming up. But I don't like the idea that we build this holiday to give thanks, but this is not something that we regularly practice and we regularly make a huge part of our life. We need to exercise thanks every day on a super regular basis and maybe even on a moment by moment basis. Now think about that. Being thankful only during Thanksgiving is like celebrating your freedom only on the 4th of July or exercising your freedom only on the 4th of July. That's ridiculous, right? Or it's like exercising once a year. You wouldn't do that. You exercise on a regular basis so that you can be physically healthy, and you got to do this in order to be mentally healthy. Now, that's why I don't like the idea of holidays, because if we're only doing the things on the holidays, then we're not living right. Think about that. Veterans Day. We should be celebrating veterans every day. Mother's Day, yeah, do something nice for her, but do something nice for her every day. Or your anniversary. If you're married, you should be loving your spouse and celebrating them every day. Or what about birthdays? Don't just celebrate your friend on their birthdays. Celebrate your friends every day. And I know a lot of y'all do this. And I know that you are good about your relationship with your friends and your family and those closest to you. But we're not so good about our relationship with gratitude. And that's a really important one that determines so much of your happiness. So consider gratitude one of your loved ones. Consider gratitude like you would consider someone that you care about deeply, because if you do, your life will go well. Now, why do you need to start practicing gratitude? Well, according to research by the University of Minnesota, it boosts your immune system, it lowers your blood pressure, it increases your optimistic feelings, it decreases your depression, it helps you in the romance department, and if you don't have that going on, it'll help you get more of one with the ladies, what's up, and the fellas, what's up. But in all seriousness, it does help you significantly with all your interpersonal relationships, and it helps you to deal with even a life-threatening crisis. That's how people are tough during cancer. They're tough because they have gratitude, and gratitude builds resilience. Now, I know you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And part of getting going is being grateful for the things that you have in your life. But beyond all this, people who practice gratitude also tend to practice better health habits, like eating more nutritious foods, exercising, avoiding risky behaviors, and also sleeping better. On top of that, the optimism that sprouts from your gratitude can create an attitude that heals. Think about that for a second. An attitude that heals. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Like, your attitude can actually heal your life. Your attitude can actually make your life better, right? Of course it can. But on the flip side of that, your attitude can also harm your life. And we all know people who do this. So don't be that guy. You know what I'm saying? That guy, the one that always complains, the one that's never happy. Don't be that guy. And also, if you become a practitioner of gratitude, people will enjoy being around you. And that's what you want. Practicing gratitude is a cure for loneliness. And you want the people you want to be friends with to be friends with you, right? And also, you want the people who you're close to enjoy your company. So basically what gratitude does is it levels you up in life, in multiple aspects of your life, And also, it levels you up in general. Now, what is gratitude? Dr. Diana Butler Bass, who is an expert on the matter and author of the book Grateful, states that gratitude is like love. Love is a noun, and it's also a verb. It's a feeling, which is a noun, but it's also something you do. I love the phrase, love is a verb, because it's true. If you love someone, you put that love to action. You go out of your way to visit them when they're sick. You spend money to buy things that make them happy. You cheer them up when they're having a bad day. If they're in a band, you go and support their shows, even if you don't like their music. My favorite thing to do is when I'm out having dinner with someone I care about, I eat their fries when they go to the bathroom. And I do it out of love. I'm trying to keep them slim, lower their cholesterol and their blood pressure, and prolonging their life. Man, I'm such a good friend and a good person for doing this. And you should too. Unless you're having dinner with me, then definitely don't do that. No, I'm just joking. But love is a verb. It's a thing you do. So gratitude, or being grateful, is also a feeling, right? It's a noun, but it's also a verb. It's something you do, and there's steps that you take to cultivate and grow that gratitude inside of yourself. Now, Dr. Diana Bass said gratitude is like a plant. You have to water it, you have to fertilize it, and you have to weed it. You have to give it time and attention, and you have to make it part of your routine. And if you never gardened before, think of it as a sport or an instrument that you play. What do you have to do? You have to practice it regularly. And with anything in life that's a skill, you're going to be really bad at it at first before you're good at it. And if you've ever played a sport or an instrument, there's a lot of failure that goes on before there's success. And you got to learn the basics before you get good. And if you don't practice it on the regular, what happens? You get rusty. So it's a continual discipline. See, the best entertainers, the best comedians, the best skateboarders, and all the other greats know that you always have to work to improve, and you've never arrived. And it's the same way with gratitude. You can become good at gratitude, but you can always get better, and you always have to practice to maintain your gratitude skills, or your guitar skills, or your basketball skills, or any other skill that you have. Now, as I've been prepping for this, I realize that I have so much to be grateful for. I have a fridge full of food right now. Now, actually, here's what happened today. I came home, my freezer part of my fridge stopped working. So what did I do? I went to the store, I filled up my coolers full of ice, and now I have my food sitting on ice, and I'll have someone come fix it tomorrow. But I feel grateful that I have the food, that I had the money for someone to come fix my fridge. And also, when I needed that book called Grateful by Dr. Diana Bass to prep for this podcast, I called up the bookstore and they had it. And I was really grateful that I didn't have to wait a whole 2 days for an online retailer to bring it to me, which isn't a big deal either. But I was able to get the book immediately and get to work. Yesterday, I actually lost power for 3 hours. And then it came back. And so I appreciate having power now because usually my power isn't out. 99.999% of the time, my power is working. And I know everybody has these things, but that's not true because there's a lot of people around the world that don't. And I'm grateful for these conveniences. I'm grateful for my health, for my family, for my freedom, and so many other things. And with life, you also have to be grateful for the difficulties. I know that sounds crazy, but you do. 2020 has been a challenging year for pretty much everybody. And maybe I don't feel it all the time, but I am grateful for this situation in the sense that it's a challenge. It's a challenge of being creative on how to live my life differently, on how to think outside the box, on how to deal with the fact that things aren't at my disposal. And I have to be creative to recreate my life. And that's going to make me better in the future because the more creative you are, the better you are at solving problems. And the better you are at solving problems, the better of a life you're going to have. And also, I'm grateful for the time I've gotten to spend with my family and the few friends I've been hanging out with. And I'm also grateful for the experience of suffering. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm grateful for the experience of any kind of suffering in the sense that it helps me to understand people. It helps give empathy. Some difficult things that I've been through in my life has made me a better person, has made me more compassionate, and I'm grateful for that. I'm not grateful for the pain that happened, but I am grateful for the end result. Now, here's a quote that I really like that goes, I think the reason why I am who I am today is because I went through those tough times when I was younger. LeBron James. Look at LeBron James. If he hadn't struggled when he was a kid, he wouldn't have never started a school. He would have never been doing all these cool initiatives that he's doing, and he probably wouldn't be as good of a basketball player as he is. But his hardships, his difficulties help make him who he is, and your difficulties and hardships will make you who you are and will refine you if you allow it to and if you don't allow yourself to get bitter. So basically what I'm saying is every cloud has a silver lining and life is full of silver linings. And as I'm going back to 2020, I'm grateful for the times of normality because in 2019 and every single year of life before that, we did not have to deal with the pandemic. And as we're going through it right now, I'm going to remember these times and be grateful when things do go back to normal, and they will. You just got to hang on. Vaccines are being made, and things will be back to normal soon enough. So as I talk about gratitude, I'm going to start with the familiar in this episode and move towards the unfamiliar in the next episode because people generally do best with things that they're familiar with. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. So, expressing gratitude. Expressing gratitude is of the utmost importance. Here's a quote that I really like. Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. You would never do that, right? You would never buy a present, wrap it up, and then not even give it to somebody. That's crazy. But people do that all the time. I remember I was teaching at this school. It was a really rough school, and I was having a really hard time at it. And I remember there's this kid, we're going to call him Tony. Now, Tony created trouble for me. He was a pain in the neck. And I remember one day I was just completely exhausted. I was feeling terrible, tired, run down. And I was sitting outside in the sun, just feeling like I was about to collapse. And I had to call up parents of students whose kids were failing. So I call up his mom and I say, hey, your son's failing. And she's like, he's failing? What do you mean he's failing? He tells me all the time that your class is his favorite class. And when I heard that, there was like this blip in my heart. There was this energy. I can't even explain it, but I just felt this jolt of energy roll through me. And all of a sudden, I could like sit up straight and not feel tired. And it felt so good. And real talk, it motivated me to be a better teacher. And that's what expressing gratitude does. So you have to express gratitude to the people who do good things for you. So if you have friends, tell them thank you. If you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, be thankful towards them and say so to your mom, to your teachers, to your instructors, to the person who makes your food. Recently, I was at a restaurant and the waiter was cool, and we made sure to let him know that he was cool. And we appreciated him because not every waiter is cool. Some of them have a bad attitude. And what ends up happening when you show appreciation is it creates this feedback loop. You show appreciation to them, they show appreciation back to you, and it becomes this positive cycle that goes between y'all. And this goes for everything. When my listeners reach out to me and say thank you, that motivates me to be a better podcaster. It makes me work harder. It inspires me to get up and work when I'm just completely tired and run down. And so Alondra and Gabriel, thanks to each of you for your kind words recently. They really made a big difference. And when listeners reach out to me and they state, hey, this is how you help me, that really helps me to become a better podcaster. That really gives me energy to study more, to work harder, and to be my very best. And if you do want to reach out to me, my email is younglegendspodcast@gmail.com, and my Instagram is younglegendspodcast as well, and I'll put that in the show notes. And my friends who listen to my podcast, when they praise me, and praise is a cousin of gratitude, when they give me props for what I'm doing and they say I'm doing a good job, that also feeds me. It makes me a better podcaster. And I'm going to be honest real quick and tell you that sometimes I question myself. I'm like, man, are you even that good at this? And people's kind words really do make a difference. So by expressing your gratitude, what's going to happen is you're going to get more of what you want from people. And yeah, I know you're worried about sounding corny, so maybe you say it in a cool way, like, hey, I appreciate you, fam, or thanks, bruh, or yo, you were clutch. Something along those lines where you're communicating that message of gratitude. Well, how do you express gratitude? When it comes to praise and when it comes to thanks, which are closely related cousins, whenever you see good behavior for anything, make sure that you say so and be very specific about what you appreciate. Because the more you praise and the more specific you are, the more that behavior that you're going to end up getting. Also, you can thank people verbally. You can also do it in written messages, which I'm sure you do often, whether it's text messages, direct messages, emails. I remember one time I was at this creative artist meeting and we were all doing something creative, and this young lady made cards that said, "This inspires me," and "You inspire me." And she would just write, "This inspires me, you inspire me," on these little pieces of paper. And she would look for behavior and people that inspired her, and then she would give it to them. And I guarantee you that that made their day, and it definitely motivated them to be better. So, you can be very creative with this. Think of different ways that you can thank people. Maybe you make your own cards. And of course, you can just send a regular thank you card. You don't have to be creative, but if you choose to, do so. And if you just want to send a thank you card, just do that. It's the thought that counts. At the end of the day, it's a thought that counts, and it's the action that you take. Now, Soul Pancake, which is an amazing YouTube channel, I highly recommend them if you haven't checked them out already, ran this experiment. They pulled in a bunch of people off the streets who didn't know what they were getting themselves into, and they had these people write a letter to someone who most affected their lives. After they were done writing the letter, they had them call that person and read the letter to them. Now, the people who wrote the letter and weren't able to call the people and read the letter to them got 2 to 4% happier. But the people who actually called the person and read the letter to them became between 5 and 19% happier. It was a really cool experiment. I'm going to tag the video in the show notes because it's definitely worth watching. Now, I was listening to a podcast recently called Mission Daily, and they shared this idea, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. The idea is you pick 10 people who have done kind things to you in your life. And then what you do is for each person, you write 10 things that they've done that you're thankful for. Now, I know that sounds like a lot. So let's say, for example, you tried this and you only came up with 7 people and you only came up with 3 things each. Did you fail? Of course you didn't. Or maybe you came up with 5 people and you only came up with 1 thing each. Did you fail? No, you did your best. So there's no such thing as failing with this. You do your best with it and then you send it to them, and I guarantee you that they will appreciate this. I do something like this every Thanksgiving where I go through and I just write down every single person that I'm thankful for, and then I send them a text message. And this year I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to do this exercise. And I was actually doing this earlier with a friend of mine named Ed, and I only spent a couple minutes doing this, but I've already got 5 things written, and I'm sure I'll have plenty more by the time I'm done with it. Also, what you can do is you can call people and you can tell them over the phone, or you can just leave them a voicemail. The cool thing about voicemail is they can go back and listen to it later, and then not only are you affecting them when they get it, but you could also boost their spirits at a later time. And that's the beauty of sending notes and letters as well. And as you're expressing gratitude, make sure that you're cultivating gratitude in the environments that you're in. So what I like to do is I like to ask people to share what they're grateful for, but I do it in a very sneaky way. I say, hey, what's the best thing that happened to you today? Or what's the best thing that happened to you over the weekend? Or what's the best thing that's happened since the last time I've spoken to you? And what that does is it gets them to share something that they're grateful for. And it also helps to drive along conversation. One last thing that I learned from Jack Canfield, the author of the Chicken Soup series, he said, thank yourself at the end of each day for the good things that you've done for that day. And I know that sounds weird, but it helps to reinforce the positive actions that you're taking. Like if you're disciplined in your exercise, or if you did the things that you were supposed to do, or if you cleaned your house, or whatever it is that you did, what you're doing is you're reinforcing that good behavior and saying, hey, thank you for not vegging out on social media today. Hey, thank you for not doing this. Thank you for not doing that. And it's reinforcing those good behaviors. And that's what every single person needs for their good behaviors is reinforcement. All right, so that's part 1 of the thankfulness series. I'll have part 2 coming up in the next episode. As always, I appreciate you listening. I hope you're happy and safe wherever you are. And if you got any value out of this podcast episode, I really appreciate it if you would subscribe and that you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That's helpful with credibility and also to get better guests in the future. Please share it with a friend who you know that needs to practice more gratitude in their life. All right. I hope you're well wherever you are. And until next time, peace.